Cool.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Hembling, the Head of Marketing and Business Development at Raise, and very proud WiTWA committee member, WiTWA being the Women in Technology Western Australia. I'm delighted to be here today with Ruth Harrison, founder of Rocketwoman. And through Rocketwoman, Ruth works at a corporate and individual level to promote diversity and equality in the workplace, specifically supporting career pivoting for people with diverse skills and backgrounds looking to move into a STEM industry, which we'll be focusing on today in this discussion. Welcome, Ruth.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Yeah, it's really nice. Ruth, can we start with what it could sort of causes people to have a career change? I know that we're no longer in a world where people take one track career and they're there either in a company or in the one career from, beginning to end of their career span. It's more of a career life cycle now, isn't it? Where people sort of dip in and out and they might have multiple careers over their life. I'd love to hear from you as to why you're seeing that and what those trends are.
Yep, no worries. Firstly, I would just like to acknowledge my Kondamuka people, who are the traditional custodians of the land I'm calling from today, who are in Brisbane here, and just pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. That's a fantastic question. I think I've about them. For me, when we look at a career, we look at a career for somebody who is 18, 19, 20, and they have the whole world on their shoulders to make these decisions at such a young age about what they're going to do potentially for the rest of their lives, and that's so much pressure. You don't have any idea about what the real world has in store for you, what you might even like, what you enjoy, and I think we put so much pressure on young people to make a decision that's going to basically affect them for the rest of their lives, and we very reluctantly give people the option to career pivot, yet it's something that's almost normal. It's there's a lot of hard work, and it's not given to we're not given to them at a younger age to say, look, it doesn't really matter what you pick now. There's an opportunity later down the track to pick something else or utilize the skills that you've got in a different way, or you might just see the world from a different perspective when you're a bit older. So I think we need to make career pivoting a lot easier, and we need to make people more aware that it's an option, and the reasons for career pivoting, they're wide, they're many. There's so many of them, from for most women, they take a large chunk of time off in mid-career, and that you come back and you see the world a little bit differently, whether it's from time pressure or you just want to do something different and you've had time to think about it, from just unexpected change that's meant that you can't do the current the role you were doing before. I mean, COVID's a very good example of forcing people to think about why am I doing the job I'm doing, or why should I go back into the role I was doing potentially beforehand, or maybe unfortunately in some industries there isn't that role there anymore, and how do we need to then look at what skills I have been doing and how then I can transfer them into something else. So I mean, as I said, they're wide and many, and I think COVID's brought the whole thing into a bit of a spotlight.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. So I'm sort of going to take this through the lens of myself, selfish, if that's okay, Ruth, because
absolutely fine.
I think that, I'm a prime candidate for a pivot in career. I've been in the one particular type of work and the particular type of industry for, 25 years now, which feels like a very long time. And, you can't help but start to think about what could be different on the horizon as I'm on going on to the flip side of my career with another, 20 or so to go, however long I choose to work for. What do you think matters when looking at changing careers? Where do people start?
Wow. Where do they need to start with themselves? And I know that sounds like a really glib thing to say, but lots of people don't. They start with the end result. I think I might want to go and be X, Y, and Z. Or I might go, I quite fancy, this kind of role. I wonder what's involved. But really, they should start with themselves and really work out deep down what it is that's driving them to change. So it might be you know, like yourself, you say, you know, I've been doing this for a certain amount of time, and, you know, what else is out there? Okay, well, let's start. Well, what do I like about what my role is now at the moment? What do I enjoy? What do I not like? And why would I want to change that? So it's really about understanding who we are as a person in the environment that we're in at the moment, and what we're looking for to change. It might be that you go, okay, no, I fancy being, I don't know, let's take an aerospace engineer. I've decided mid-career that I want to be an aerospace engineer. Well, why? What are the reasons behind that? I like aircraft. Okay, but do you actually understand what an aerospace engineer is, and how that would affect your, you know, your life, and what you would need to do that? And so it's really about breaking down, you know, who you are and what you want to achieve, and what your goals are in the longer term. So yeah, it's really just about sort of going, who are you and what matters? And that's really important. I think people forget about what matters to them. They kind of go, oh, you know, this job sounds really exciting because I'm interested in that. But what matters, is it flexibility? Is it, you know, is it having a career path? You know, maybe I haven't got to the level I expected to, and I want to, that's really important to me, so I need to try something new. Or it might be that, you know, maybe I'm being pushed in a direction I don't want to go, and I don't particularly want to be a manager, or I don't particularly want to, you know, go down this road. I want to try something different. So it's really about sitting down with yourself and working out what's important from a, you know, it could be physical things, you know, like time. I want to do a job that's I hear quite a lot, you know, 9 till 3, so I can be at home for my children. Or I prefer to work nights, or I prefer to work, you know, early mornings and finish at 2:30 in the afternoon because I've started at 5, or what have you. So it can be those physical things, but it's also the more personal things, you know, about, you know, career development, or you know, I just want to work with somebody who makes rockets, perhaps, or, you know, I want to be at the forefront of something. I want to do something that's exciting or new, or, you know, I just want to help people, and I'm not doing that at the moment.
I'm hearing passion, design, lifestyle, logistics, all sorts of reasons in there, and I guess mapping those out to determine what suits you best. I'm imagining there could be some skills gaps in there too. You know, if I turned around and said that I wanted to be an astrophysicist, there'd be with my marketer background, but we might come to that a little bit later when we talk more into the practical side of things. Who can help you? So imagine I'm here with my blank piece of paper and I don't really know where to start, other than maybe an inkling of what might interest me. Where could I go to get some help?
Well, you could talk to me if you like. You could go. There's people, career coach, a mentor, perhaps. You know, the people that know you best are some of the first people I would go to, though. That might be your family, your friends, and get them to talk honestly about, you know, because we have these discussions. They might be off the cuff, or, you know, these side things about your day, or how you've been at work, or, you know, things that you really aspire to. And they're the ones that pick up on these things, and potentially you don't. You kind of just glibly, you think you're glibly saying, oh, you know, I want to go and, you know, buy a block of land and run a campsite or something in the middle of nowhere, and you might think, oh, I've only said it once or twice, it's not really something that matters. But they may come to you and go, well, you've been saying that for the last sort of 15 years and it's become a persistent thing. And you go, oh, you know what, actually I'd really quite like to do that, and that's what's driving me, and I hadn't really, you know, taken it seriously. So, you know, your friends and your family are some of the first places I would go. And then, you know, you can go to a career coach or somebody who can then try and cement those and give you some direction. The other thing is just ask, you know, people that you work with, if you potentially want to maybe pivot within the same industry, or take a sidestep. Those are the people that were going to know how to do that. Or you know, if you really wanted to, approach somebody who's got the job that you want and have a chat to them.
Great idea. So, okay, so we've got blank piece of paper, big picture, blue sky thinking, gut instinct, advice from family, friends and professionals, goal setting. How important is it to set goals, and where would I start with that? What would that look like?
Personally, I don't think goal setting is the right word for it. It's more about going back to what's driving you and making sure that when you're going forward with something, it's meeting the things that matter. So when you're looking at a career and, you know, you go, okay, I want to be an astrophysicist, but I want to work 9 till 3. is that realistic? I'd hope so. Look, in an ideal world it would be, but you know, is that really what's gonna is that gonna meet what's really important to me? So I think, you know, yes, goal setting is something that you can do, and it'll help you achieve what you want to achieve. But if you're not keep looking back at what's the reason behind it, I don't think you're going to even achieve those goals. You've got to really make sure that you're going in the right direction. But in saying that, you know, it's good to have a final destination as to what you achieve to keep you going. And I think that's potentially where, you know, having some support is useful, because it keeps you going forward. And you know, so you've got either a mentor or a family member or a friend who just keeps going, you know, keep thinking about that career that you want to go for, or you know, maybe it's time to go and buy that plot of land. You know, so having that support is really important, particularly for achieving those little milestones that help you go in that direction.
What would saying yes mean to people? I know that Emma Isaac sort of goes by the philosophy, if it's not a hell yes, then it's a no. And so when do you think we should say yes to opportunities, and what difference can that make?
I think we should say yes to opportunities a lot more than we do, but with a massive proviso that we are comfortable saying no. Because I think we don't make a decision more than we do make a decision, which in the end is making a decision. But I think we're very aware that we don't want to offend anybody or say no to things. So we may, you know, the term ghosting kind of, you know, just, oh yeah, if I forget about it, no one will push me. But I think it's better that we no one will notice.
Slightly go away.
Yeah. They'll go ask somebody else. But I think it's really important that we learn to say no to things that don't meet what are, you know, I want to say goals, but meet our end game, you know, so that if they don't sit with what we're trying to achieve and the things that matter from the very beginning, then I think we need to learn to say no a lot more. But we also need to say yes to opportunity. And I think there's a great you know, fail quickly, fail forward, fail fast, one of those, you know, have a go. Because if you don't have a go, you'll always be asking why. But as long as it's having a go in something that is going to take you in a direction that you've already know that you want to go in. But sometimes, you know, say yes to things that are interesting, because you just never know when they're going to, you know, take you in a direction that you weren't expecting. And I think from my perspective, the biggest thing that I've learned is that you just never know who or what is going to take you in a direction that's going to be really interesting to you, and one that you're going to go, I'm so glad I did that. But you'd never know about those opportunities if you don't take them.
I think that's really great advice. Ruth, I know that you work with corporates to help establish internships for people who are career pivoting, particularly in the tech engineering space. This is not something I've really heard of in my own industry. How prevalent are these types of internships? And what do you think the gaps are in the corporate space to enable people to be career pivoting?
Oh, look, you've not heard of it because there's not many organisations doing it. Because I think this year I've noticed that there's a few more companies taking it seriously, but a lot of companies have very much focused on the, you know, graduates. That's where their interns come in really hard to fill industries, maybe in the sort of the trades. You know, they may have done some more work in this space, but when we're talking about people that really want a career pivot and supporting them, it's quite rare. It's still very rare, and I think there's still a lot of misconceptions about older workers. So you know, there's apparently the statistic for classing someone as an older worker is somebody who's over the age of 45, which concerns me quite a lot, because you've still got quite a lot of your career going forward. I'd say almost as much behind you as you have in front of you. So you know, that's quite a concern. But there's so many misnomers around what an older worker could bring. You know, that they're stale, they don't want change, they don't have it, they couldn't keep up with the pace, or they want too much flexibility, or what have you. And what I'm hoping that as part of this we can change that and show that, you know, the things that matter are not necessarily the skill set the direct skill set. So if you say, you know, you want to be your astrophysicist, you know, how many skills could you bring into that role that you've gained doing marketing? You know, there's nothing to say. There's so many things that are not these hard skills. And yes, of course, you need to know astrophysics and you need to, you know, understand the planets and the stars and everything to do that role. But those are hard skills that can be learned. There's a lot more softer skills. I hate the term soft skills, but those kinds of skills that you've learned over time that you can communicate. I'm sure you can communicate very effectively as a marketing expert. You've got knowledge of the world and how what you would be potentially doing as an astrophysicist then affects the world. Things that you don't necessarily have as a younger person. So, you know, it's about really trying to redefine some of those skills and help companies go, you know what, it's not going to cost you any more than it would to get a younger graduate. It's not going to cost you, and in fact, you're probably going to get some skills that you wouldn't get from a younger graduate, and they're complementary. So let's have a look at ways we can get more people into these industries. And to be perfectly honest, if we're talking about STEM skills, we're not going to get the STEM skills that we want from the graduates that are coming through at the moment. We're going to have a huge drain, and we need to look at different ways to approach it.
Can we talk about why that is for a minute?
Why we're not going to get the STEM skills?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've got so many projects in this. I'm just talking about Australia here, but the problem is global. So many projects that require STEM skills from engineers to scientists to biologists, you know, that we're not going to fill that gap. Even if, you know, we doubled the number of people in general, not just diverse people, but, you know, people doing STEM degrees and qualifications, we're still not going to meet what we need. The world is getting so technologically advanced that almost every role is going to require some level of STEM skills going forward. And if you don't have, and one of my biggest challenges I have, or problems I have with the world going forward, is that we're leaving people behind because not everybody has some level of STEM skills. I know I don't want everybody to become an engineer. That'd be interesting, but, you know, we still need people in arts. We still need people who know history and geography and all of those things. But we need everyone to have an understanding of what STEM and technology is having on our environment, and that's not just from, you know, talking about solar panels, but the things that we're talking about, you know, augmented reality, and all of those kinds of things, and how they're going to have an effect on us as a species. And, you know, even just having an understanding about what's going on in space at the moment, you know, if everyone had a bit more of an idea and an understanding of that, I think we'd be in a lot better place than potentially we are right now.
And do you think some of that gap is because we're not talking to perhaps children about it early enough and then guiding them with that knowledge?
Oh, definitely. And we still see STEM skills as something that's really complicated or something that's hard. And we look at it,
and perhaps removed from everyday life, when in fact it's very integrated into everything that we do.
Yeah, so true. And when we think of STEM, we think of maths, and maths still has this horrible tag of it being difficult, and why would you do it, and what's even now, you know, it's still a big challenge. What makes me a little bit sad is the amount of particularly women who, you know, won't do anything that's got maths in it, anything at all. It looks very scary, and they've been what's the word I'm looking for, socialized to believe that, you know, it's hard and they shouldn't be doing it. And that's really, really sad. And I think a lot of that then gets passed down to the younger generations, particularly girls, you know, oh, that looks difficult, I can't, or their parents, the mum can't help them with the maths homework, and it just becomes that but you know what I mean? Because then they see that their mums can't do it, so therefore, you know, oh, why should I be able to do it? Should it? Oh, that looks a bit hard. And when things do get a little bit difficult, they go, oh, you know, put my hand, you know, I'm not going to do maths, I'll do something else. And it's not, and it shouldn't be like that. Maths is as hard as any other thing to learn in reality. It's as hard or as easy as you make it if you spend the time, invest the time in it. And I think we need to do things to make those subjects more relevant to people, and more relevant to everyday life, and help people understand why it matters, not to necessarily go out and do an engineering degree, but why it matters to have a base level of knowledge of how these things affect you.
I think we could talk about this all day. But I have to say, it's one of the things I love about WiTWA. You know, they go into schools and they run their Tech Trails program, and it's really shining a light on STEM-based careers to high school students and breaking it down into more everyday language and letting them understand how real STEM is in what we do, because you're absolutely right. You know, I remember going through school, and I hear it today with my own children. When am I ever going to use that? Is that relevant to me? And in fact, yes, those things absolutely are relevant, and they broaden opportunity and choice, I think, if you give them your best shot. Let's talk about the practical things that people can do if they want to pivot their career. So if I was to say, okay, I've sat down, I know what I want to do, may not be astrophysicist, but it might be being a marketer in a STEM-based industry versus professional services, where I have been for my career. What are the immediate steps that I might take to get started?
So the immediate steps that I would suggest are, so if you're, there's two roads you go looking at career pivoting. One is the direct road. Okay, I'm going to stop what I'm doing now. I'm going to go back to university and I'm going to get a degree in something completely different, and then I'm going to go into that industry. That's obviously the difficult one, and it's probably the one that's most expensive. I'll be honest with you. You know, you're likely to go down the chain a little bit to come back up again, and there's nothing wrong with that, but that's obviously not an option for everybody. The other way I would suggest is to do basically is what you said, is to take all of the skill sets that you've got from the industry that you're in and the industry, and then learn about that industry. Now I know that I make that sound really simple, but it can be a lot easier than potentially industries like to make it out that it is. One way to do that is to make sure that you're aware of all of your transferable skills. You know, lots of people aren't. They go, oh yeah, but I don't know about X, Y, and Z. You know, let's talk about the building industry compared to potentially, you know, the public services industry. You know, oh, I don't know much about building. I don't know anything about construction. I don't know anything about, you know, the people. And like, so we're focusing on the negatives already, rather than focusing on the 25 years worth of experience that you've got in doing marketing. And so what can you do? You know about the systems, you know about how to communicate with people. I have to admit, marketing is not my strong point, so I'm guessing it was. you know how to. I was
going to say it's not my strong point either. That would not be a good thing.
But you know what I mean. You've got all of those effective communications, being able to create, you know, corporate documentation. All of those things are relevant regardless of what industry we're in. And so it's about going, okay, what skills have I got? What potentially do I need, and how am I going to get those skills? But transferring industries is the best way to really have an idea of whether you're going to like that industry. You know, let's say you go into the building industry and go, oh, you know, it's not really for me. I'm not quite sure what it is. But then you've got a bit more of a knowledge of potentially of a technical industry, which you could then take to another industry, say, I don't know, submarines. I don't know why I picked submarines, but let's pick submarines, you know. So you're then starting to build up some industry experience and knowledge, but then you might go, okay, well, I've done this, so now I'm really interested in submarines. How can I get a different role in that? Potentially I want to move into, you know, technical documentation, which might take me into a role that's more technically orientated. And at that point you might go, actually I want to get some qualifications in this space, because I've realized now that, you know, this is something I really want to get more into. And so that's a way of transferring things in a more defined and sort of slow and more you know, planned manner. How you would do that though, I would also recommend, you know, utilizing your network. Now I saw something very recently that really kind of resonated with me, which was build your well before you are thirsty. And I don't think people really, I think we're getting better, but I don't think people really utilize their network, and they don't build it before they need it. and they don't spend the time, getting to know people, or following people, or asking advice from people from potentially in the industries that they are interested in. There's no one better qualified to tell you about an industry than people that are already working in it. So you might go, okay, well, maybe I do want to work in the building industry. Who do I know in that industry? We all know people across industries. And so then you go, oh, I'll put you in touch with this person, or I'll put you in touch with that person. And then you start to build this network. You might be still 5 years away from actually, career moving, or, career pivoting. But then you've still spent that time fostering those people so that you can go, okay, right now I'm ready to move. What advice would you give me? Or are you aware of, how? And you spend that time also going, what would you say if I decided to move into your industry? Oh yeah, that'd be fantastic. You'd be perfect for it. Or, actually, I think you just need to get some skills in this area. Okay, how can I do that? So there's lots of ways of getting advice and information that I don't think people utilize well enough. They don't use their networks. And I was talking to a friend this week who gave me some advice, which I thought was fantastic, because I was afraid of asking for help. And she said, what do you enjoy doing more than anything? And I said, well, helping people. Of course I do. I love doing it. I said, well, so if you're not asking for help, you're denying other people that privilege of, providing what they also love, which is helping people. I was like, never really thought of it like that. So, if you do want help, don't be afraid of asking it, because if someone asks me for help, I'm there. I'm like, yeah, no, sure. I'm happy to have a chat to you, happy to discuss these things with you. And I think 90% of people would be. And if they're not, it's not because of you. And I think that's the other thing that people have to realize, that if someone does say, no, sorry, I can't help you, it's unlikely it's you. It's more likely they don't have time, or they just don't have the availability at the moment, or they just don't have that space in their mental capacity. Well, we've all got things going on all the time. Just respect that and go, okay, fine, nothing to do with me. Who else can I ask? So people have to be a lot more willing to just put themselves out there a little bit and have a go and ask for help.
I think they're both really good points, because firstly, you can feel like you're burdening people if you're going to ask them for help. And we all know that everyone is their own version of busy, whatever that may be. So yeah, it can, and you can sort of have this pre-thought that you would be asking too much of people, but you're 100% right. People are happy to help others, and what would it be, 20 minutes, 30 minutes out of their day, and then it might extend if that goes really well. But yeah, that initial and don't take it personally, which I think many of us can have a tendency to do.
Yeah. And I think the other thing on that note is to just remember that I think we have a tendency to read a lot more into something than is true. Somebody doesn't reply to your text message, oh, they don't like me anymore, or I've done something to upset them. The reality is they're just busy, or they might not have seen the message, or their phone's not working at the time, and it's absolutely nothing to do with you. And I think we do tend to tell these stories in our head about what's wrong with me, rather than it's just the situation at that particular moment in time, and it's actually nothing to do with me. So
yeah, it's important not to overthink it. Just do it, keep moving, and follow your plan. Can we just talk a little bit about training and education? So if you, I'm thinking particularly for people who want to perhaps and have the privilege of being able to take quite a vast leap, and I guess not have to transition too quickly out of their existing career, but they could, what would you recommend? And for the other group of people where they do have to transition, how would they determine what those gaps are in their skills, and what sort of training and education path would they go down?
So the first thing to go right back to the beginning again is understand what skills you have got, and really understand them. People do tend to underestimate their own value. Really, particularly women, we're very harsh on ourselves. That's not a skill, that's not relevant. And you're like, no, it very much is relevant, just because. And also we tend to underestimate the skills that we've got when we've developed them volunteering, or doing them at home, or for people for not being paid for them. It's like, oh yeah, that's not really relevant, but it is. Just because you've done it at home, or you've done it for a school, or you've done it on a committee or something, doesn't mean that they're not applicable in in a paid environment. So we really do need to understand what the skills are that we've got, and ask the people that you know, how would you rate my, organization skills? And you might get a bit of a shock, they're fantastic, they're wonderful, or you could do better, which is just, take it on the chin and go, okay, well, how could I improve those kind of skills? Once you've got that basic, this is all the skills I've got, it's a lot easier to then work out what the gaps are. My advice is, if you're looking for a particular role in a particular industry, is use the tools that are around. So whether you've got LinkedIn or Seek or any of the, go see what people are advertising for, go see what the roles are. My biggest thing is, go and look at the people who are doing the job that you want to do and see what skill sets that they've got are, and ask them, go, okay, what makes, what do you think is the standout skill for this role, and how would I develop that? As far as, if you're looking at completely retraining, well, I think people miss out on scholarships. If you're looking to do some kind of, a degree or even a trade or some kind of retraining, there is loads and loads of scholarships out there that people just aren't aware of, and they're very hard to find, but they're worth taking the time to, because there's so many opportunities there for people, particularly in industries. People want more people in STEM, so there's lots of STEM related scholarships out there. People want more, aviation, or they want more doctors or nurses or whatever it is, and there's always something for there. And most universities have got a couple usually for each discipline, so it's really worth your time. And then organisation, I don't know if WiTWA do scholarships, but I know organisations like WiTWA tend to, I know Women in Aviation International, they've got loads of scholarships that they offer. So look at organisations in the industry that you're looking to move into, because there's lots of ways that they can support you. And on that, join an organisation like WiTWA, because the communities that you develop through those organisations is worth 5,000 times whatever it is the joining fee is. They are fantastic. They are full of people who are so supportive, really want you to succeed, and really want to help you go wherever it is that you want to go within that space that that the industry is based, the organization is based in. So they are just so amazing and so supportive, that if you haven't got any network, they're a great place to start.
I completely agree with you. I personally have found, and I think it's the right one when you're there. So you can join organisations or networks that aren't perhaps the right one or the right fit for you, or the right group of people to support you. But personally, even since I've joined WiTWA, so embracing everybody, so incredibly helpful and supportive, as you say. And I think an organisation like WiTWA, and I'm sure there are many, many others, but when you have people come from a diverse set of industries, they can all bring something different that is really helpful and supportive too. And yeah, just on the scholarships, I'm not sure if WiTWA does have scholarships, but my advice to people as well, if that's okay, would be to look at corporates as well. So Raise, for example, we run a whole range of scholarships throughout the year with different universities and sort of entrepreneurship programs as well, where there are many organizations that do this, where people can apply and then they put them through, and it can be sort of the kickstart for something quite amazing for those people.
Yeah, and there's also entrepreneurial groups, or I'm trying to think of the word, legacy groups, where people have left a lot of money in a will to go out, and those philanthropic sorry, I can't say the word groups that want to help as well. So don't just look at universities and corporate. There's a whole other group of them, and they support. I know there's lots of support out there for more diverse people as well to move into those. So they'll support sections of the diverse environment to diverse groups, to diverse communities, what I'm trying to say, to move into those particular areas as well. So there's lots and lots of ways to get those kinds of things.
Ruth, I think we're near the end of our I want to thank you immensely for your time today and for all of the practical advice you've given. I actually feel really inspired. I feel like you can dream big or small, and it doesn't matter. which path you want to take, but with the right people around you, and I'm guessing the right energy that you put into it. So, you know, you're going to get out of it what you put into it, but there are definitely people to help you at a corporate level and at an individual level, and processes you can follow to really help you to make that change.
Oh, most definitely. And my biggest tip for anybody even thinking about it is just set the ball rolling. Just do the process of getting your ideas together and who you are and what you want. And even if that doesn't go anywhere, and you decide where you are is happy, that's an outcome.
Yep.
You know, that's as good as doing anything. So don't be afraid to have a go, or even just consider another role or another organization or another industry. Just have a look, ask some questions, because all you're going to get is more information to make a decision down the track. That's
exactly right. You don't know till you try.
No, exactly.
On that note, thank you so much, Ruth. I really value your time today and appreciate it. Thank you.
No, thank you. I've really enjoyed it.